and then to pull into the show with you on this Friday afternoon. We love Fridays here on Talk Radio, 105.7 FM, 570 AM. A great time for you to drive home and enjoy the weekend, and hopefully you'll have a safe one. There is so much going on this weekend in this community. Got a couple of football games, BYU at home against Texas. The Utes at home against Weber State. What else we got? We got the Greek Fest going on, Comic-Con going on, the State Fair going on. Holy Toledo, is there enough going on in this community this weekend? Hopefully you'll get out and enjoy some of it. Yesterday, we had a real interesting discussion yesterday about this couple who wrote anonymously on this blog about their frustration. They were ticked off. They wanted a child, a second child. And it didn't work naturally the second time around. They turned to medical science to help them out. They spent a lot of money and were able to get pregnant with in vitro fertilization the first time. And they were hoping to have a little girl. Well, they ended up finding out that they were going to have twin boys. And, boy, that just ticked them off. And they blogged about it. They wrote about it, how shameful it was. They were pissed off. They were angry. It was ruining their family, the woman involved in it. And they wrote this all anonymously. They used pseudonyms. We're writing about how the pregnancy has changed her and carrying twins, how bad it was. And a lot of people were ticked off, including myself. Well, in the process of that, I got an email from one of our guests. His name is Jonathan Boldt. He is the Deseret News prep editor, but he's also written a book along with a friend of his, Steve Ruiz, who's a physician assistant. And the book is called Shooting Blanks, and it takes a look at the frustrations of getting pregnant for a couple from a man's perspective. And I thought we'd get them both on the show this afternoon. So, Jonathan and Scott, how are you? And welcome to Steve, well, how are you? And welcome to the show.
Doing good, Rod. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well.
We're doing good. You can call me Scott if you want.
Okay, no, it's Steve. I know that. My fault, Steve. I want to start with Jonathan. Jonathan, why did you get together with your buddies and decide to write this book?
Well, my wife and I have been trying to get pregnant for about 8 years now, and the next step was kind of the expensive part, and, just getting out of school and all that. I didn't quite have the money, and so we've just been researching and doing all we can, short of the in vitro fertilization, and we just got to talking about, my wife and I, about all the funny and stupid things people say to you, adoption's not stupid, but they're like, well, is it time for you to adopt yet? And it's like, well, that may be a personal decision, but,
yeah.
Everybody thinks they can jump into your business. And so one day at a doctor's appointment with my wife, I got talking with Steve, and, he and I were kind of friends before this, but he had some of the same issues, and we just got talking about, the funny things. And I mentioned to him I was thinking of writing a book and asked if he'd want to contribute. And the more we talked, the more it was just like, hey, let's co-author this, let's do this together, let's get something out there, because guys don't really talk about it, and it's something that it's helped me to talk about it for sure.
Steve, is the book itself a humorous book mixed with some important issues, or the other way around, important issues mixed with some humor?
I don't think our intention with writing this book was how you should go about dealing with infertility, another how to get pregnant kind of a book. It was more of a dealing with the pitfalls of infertility with humor and with being so it really, yes, it is a humorous book, and there's some pretty outlandish stories in there that are true, and in regards to some of the things that people will say and do, as Jonathan alluded to, as far as entering into your business and what they think everybody comes out of the woodwork with all kinds of advice on how you should do it and what you should do, and what worked for my grandma, and on and on and on. So yeah, it's kind of and I think that the goal with this book was to help men be able to relate to other men through reading it, and also to help women look at infertility through their husband's point of view, and I think everybody will have a good laugh when they read it.
Jonathan, a lot of people say this whole infertility issue is harder on the woman than it is on the man. Is that true, do you think?
The thing I've learned with all the trials we've gone through with this and the people I've talked to is that it's not my place really to judge anyone else's pain.
And I think that's one thing we talk about in the book that's really important, because seeing it through my wife's, I guess, obviously I don't see exactly how she feels, but I'm there with her, and it hurts me more than anything else to see her pain through it. And so I wouldn't go as far as to say that it even comes close as far as what I'm feeling, because the feeling of motherhood is something that is, I believe in, I think most people believe is a natural instinct. It's the women feel that need to mother and to have children and to care and nurture. And but having said all that, it is very difficult on the husbands as well. And it's something that I never gave thought to prior to getting married and prior to having kids, but it has been the hardest trial that I've encountered.
Steve, are there any suggestions in the book as to how guys can talk to either other guys about this or how they can talk to their wives about this?
For infertility for men, it's sort of, especially if it does turn out to be their problem, if they have a low sperm count or if it's something like that, we are not really good at asking for driving directions. So a lot of times it's difficult for us to say, hey, how do I get my sperm count up? That's a weird subject to broach, and it is the elephant in the room to a lot of men when their buddies are all, their friends all have kids, and they're talking about what they're doing with the kids and everything else, and they really, it's a difficult thing for them to broach the subject, and I think the book does give them a little bit of an advice on how to, and I think that it helps people who may know people who have infertility, who maybe have friends who have infertility, on how to broach the subject with them as well without making them feel uncomfortable.
Guys, as I'm listening to you talking, all I can think about is that hilarious scene from the movie Forget Paris with Billy Crystal and Deborah Winger about this whole issue, and it was hilarious. Jonathan, let me ask you, what do you want people to come away with after they read this book?
The main thing, I think, is to realize that everyone has their own issues, their own problems to overcome, and whether it's infertility or problems with drugs in the past, there's really no place for any of us to judge. And once we get past that feeling of wanting to judge a certain situation, once we can get past that, I feel like we're much better able to relate to each other and to actually make progress in building good relationships and solving problems. And I think when just being able to relate to each other and to talk to each other about difficult subjects and topics, I think that is probably the main thing. But also just to know that if you do have know someone or a family member or friend going through infertility, it really is a personal thing, and how they deal with it is between the couple and for us and for a lot of people between the couple and God. Mm-hmm. It's a sacred thing for people. Parenthood is very sacred, even if you don't have kids. The feeling and the drive to have that family is something that is so sacred to so many people, and to treat it lightly is the most damaging thing and the most hurtful part of it. To have somebody judge you based on saying, well, if you can't have kids, why aren't you adopting then? Don't you owe it to the world? And, for me, I have 2 adopted siblings, and Steve's adopted 2 little kids. And so adoption is definitely a subject or an option. Mm-hmm. But even adoption, it's a sacred thing. Deciding when and where is very private. And I think there's a proper way to talk to each other and proper way to discuss these difficult subjects, and treating it lightly is something that's hard for everyone that deals with this.
Yeah, well, I love the title, guys. I don't know who came up with that idea, but I do love the title. Where can you get copies of the book? Is it available in bookstores in the area?
Actually, available on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an ebook available on Kindle. You can get it on the Kindle app for iPhone or iPad, or the actual Kindle reader itself. So.
All right. Well, Jonathan and Steve, see, I didn't call you Scott this time. Thanks for your time, and good luck with the book. We appreciate your offer today to come on the show.
Hey, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
All right, joining us on our newsmaker line, that's Jonathan Boldt. He's the author, along with his good friend Steve Ruiz. They've written about a man's perspective on infertility. The name of the book called Shooting Blanks. At AAA Utah, whether you cheer for the Utes